Hello everyone and welcome to the Leslie Strachan Show again. Today I'm delighted to have with me Doris.
Yeah,
Is it Valade, Doris? Valade, great, with me, who's going to talk us through some of the success principles she uses in her coaching business. She's had an amazing life. She founded, grew and then sold her food manufacturing company after 35 years. During that time, she was active on many food industry boards and was included on the list of Profit Magazine's top 100 female entrepreneurs from 1999 to 2005, and again in 2016. Today, Doris keeps busy supporting and mentoring entrepreneurs and small business owners through the day-to-day challenges of running their business and trying to stay sane. Whether that's you or them, I'm not sure. We'll find out in a minute. She loves to share her business experience and life lessons, knowing how tough it is to run your own business. And I think we're both in the same boat there, aren't we, Doris? Yeah, we are. So with that in mind, who are your heroes, your clients? Who do you normally work with?
Most of my clients are entrepreneurs, startup business owners, those that are getting going, and some smaller businesses as well that may have been in business for 10 years but are stuck. Definitely my heroes.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to switch my video off because I think I've got a bit of interference at this end, Doris. So I'll just do that for a second. So we're entrepreneurs and small business owners. And what do you think the challenges that they have are?
Oh, goodness. Numerous challenges. I think that is the challenge, is for them to coordinate all the balls necessary, first to start a business, then to grow a business. So they're wearing many hats, from financing, trying to get financing for the company, getting cash flow moving along, to also managing their time, making the most of the 24 hours in a day, and marketing. Marketing is always a big one. How to get their brand, their name, their services out there to grow the business. So those are definitely key.
Yeah. Do you feel that they have all these things in common, or do they come to you with specifics?
There's a commonality for sure. There's a few specifics that might be around if they have family members involved, and also if, depending on what skills they already bring to the table when they start their business. So some come from different business segments or have been working for a number of years. I have one client, she worked for a large food processing company for 35 years, finished that, and has now started her own business.
Wow.
So yes, it can all, so there are some uniqueness, but there's definitely a commonality to the core skills and attributes needed to really run a successful business.
Yes, I completely agree with you on that one. So how did you decide to become a guide for these entrepreneurs and small business owners?
A couple of things. I've always been very active in sports and competitive sports all my life. And I learned right from the beginning that if I wanted to improve in sports, I was a competitive badminton player, that I had to have a coach. And that coach pushed me and encouraged me, kept me on track, taught me new skills. And I ended up actually having a provincial ranking in badminton and won a number of tournaments.
Wow.
I took that lesson with me into business. And I have my own business mentors that I've had for 20 years. And I would not be where I am today. And I would not have been as successful in business had I not had those business mentors. And so knowing those lessons, once I sold my business, I wanted to encourage other business owners to also consider having a coach mentor as part of their team, and to recognize the value right from the beginning. Many startups and entrepreneurs think they can't afford a coach. It is probably the #1 best investment that they could actually make in their own success, both for themselves as individuals and also for their business.
That's an interesting point, isn't it? Because you get a lot of people who say, actually, I just can't afford a coach, or what's the point? Mm-hmm. And what would you say to people like that?
Can you afford not to? If you're committed to continuous improvement, learning more about yourself and growing your business, doing it alone is a very lonely place. And it'll take longer.
Yeah.
It'll take more energy and take longer. So ultimately, it will cost you more in the long run.
I completely agree with you. What do you think the mentors and coaches did for you when you were first starting out?
First of all, in the support, knowing that I wasn't alone and sharing some of my hurdles they confirmed that they weren't unique to me. When you're running a business by yourself, you think you're the only one that's going through these challenges. With a mentor or coach, I then recognized that no, what I was going through is part of growing a business and that I could be successful doing it. And then I could also reach out and ask my mentors would share some of the key lessons that they learned, as well as providing me with some resources that would have taken me much longer to find on my own. So together with the support and the references, the referrals, it was a big help going along.
Yeah, I imagine it probably was. So if you have a business owner or an entrepreneur who wants to get in touch with you, how do you reach out to those people? How do they find you?
I do have a website. So those that are just looking for me and do a search on my name, it does come up under the Malabar Group Inc. I'm also active on LinkedIn, and I do post a number of business articles as well.
Okay.
So that's been another way. But also I network a fair bit with different parts of the community. So for example, in our region here, we have a business development center, and they provide twice a year it's online right now, mentoring program for new businesses in the area. And then they include mentors to help them. And so I'm a volunteer there. I don't get paid. And we generally have between 30 and 35 brand new business owners twice a year. And so we look at doing their business plan. We look at doing their sales pitch and just providing them with support to get rolling. So I do that. I'm also a mentor on a Canada-wide program called the Forum that supports women entrepreneurs. So I've reached out in a number of different ways to, first of all, help where I can, to give back, and then also to make some noise. My business articles are also published in a local trade magazine. So in combination, that's all provided me with some great opportunities to network and to reach out.
I suspect it probably gladdens your heart, doesn't it, when you're working and mentoring with these business owners and suddenly you see them take off?
Yes, yes. And just the excitement, the relief that they have. Quite often when we start a coaching session, they're worn out, they're frustrated, they're upset, they're confused. And then by the end of the hour, they have some new goals, some insights, and some new energy. And to see them take away that from our session, and then the next session, they evolve a little bit further. And so as we go along, the relationship grows and their business grows. And it definitely goes together in harmony.
It's funny, isn't it? Because when we use some of the success principles, like the setting goals, which you're going to talk about in a second, to see that energy just rise, and it's almost like a cloud's been lifted off their heads, isn't it?
For sure. Yes. Yep.
It's amazing. So which success principles would you like to chat about today, Doris?
I guess one of the key ones, and it's both the personal as well as a business focus, and that is on setting goals. Jack Canfield's success principles includes setting fairly lofty goals, which is okay. It's interesting when you hear that some people, I want to make $1 million in the first year. Well, that is a lofty goal and perhaps a little unrealistic, but it can still be a goal. It's the timelines that you set for some of these goals and how you break the bigger goal into smaller goals. And that's my focus with a lot of my mentoring is, okay, you have a big goal, you have this aspiration. Now, what are the steps that you need to climb towards that goal? So the ultimate goal becomes the top of the mountain. And then you have all these steps along the way. So you have mini goals that help you to reach your final goal. And then you celebrate as you go along. You create action steps for each of those mini goals. And as each mini goal is completed, before you know it, depending on how much time, you'll find that you've reached your final goal.
That's amazing, isn't it? So if you had someone who came to you tomorrow and said, I want to earn $1 million within a year, how would you be able to chunk that down for them?
Well, what I would do is I would give them my own personal experience.
Okay.
Okay. So, and I've told this story many times, and it is a true story. As I grew my company, I reached the point where I wanted to sell the company. And the company wasn't making a lot of money. This was after 2008, when there was a major downturn in the economy. And I was tired. I was worn out. I'd been running the company for over 25 years. So my goal then was to sell the company. And not just sell the company, I also set myself a lofty goal of how much I wanted to sell the company for. So what I did is I wrote myself a check, and I still have the check. And I wrote the check to myself on March the 8th, 2012. And in there, I put how much I wanted the company to sell the company for. And the number I put in there was far beyond what my company was worth at the time. So then I took that check, made it out to myself, and I put it in my wallet. Then when I went into the office and into work, I said to myself, okay, what do I need to do to reach that goal? So I had to look at our marketing. How do we build our brand stronger to increase the number of customers? Once we have our customers, how do we improve on our products so they come back for more? Also, how do I improve the efficiencies in our warehouse so that we can save some money? So I involved my team. It wasn't just an effort on my part. I chose to include my senior team and looked at ways we could make more money and save money. And in doing that, within 2 years, we were then profitable. And I then myself increased sales by going on the road, which I thoroughly enjoyed doing. And in 2017, February 1st, 2017, so it's 5 years later, not 1 year later. 5 years later, I sold the company. I had 3 different companies come forward to buy the company. And believe it or not, all 3 companies offered me the exact same amount that was on my check. Not a dollar more and not a dollar less. I sold the company for exactly what I had on the check. So it was a lofty goal. Was it achievable in 1 year? No. And I knew it wasn't. Did I look at that check every day? No. Did I tell everybody about it? No. I knew in my heart what I wanted. The energy from that helped me to break down the steps to get there. And now I carry that check with me in my wallet every day as a reminder that your goals are achievable.
Yeah, and you know, the really weird thing about that is I have my vision board on here. I don't have a check written out, but perhaps I'm thinking that I might right now. But it does have some lofty numbers on the vision board. And I look at it every day and I think, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I'm on my 6th vision board in 4 years. So something must be right. And it's this sort of get what you focus on, isn't it?
It is. It is. And not to get overwhelmed, but to think about, okay, what's the first step I can make to get there?
And do you encourage your mentees to write themselves checks as well?
I do. I do. I also then, one of the other tools that Jack Canfield provides in his success principles is mind mapping. So I incorporate that into what I do. So mind mapping is in a way a version of a vision board, in that with the mind mapping in the center, you would put your main goal, and then out there on the spokes of the wheel could be all the mini steps to get there. So by looking at the mini steps, you can then put it in order, and having your mind map on one page, much like a vision board on one board, right, provides you with that instant reward and focus.
It does. It does. And it's kind of interesting that when you put, for me, because I'm a visual learner, to have it in pictures, every now and again, I'll just look at it and go, oh my goodness, that's kind of happened now. And I didn't realize it, because you're so busy in the groove of actually trying to run the business, aren't you?
True. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you, when you look at your environment, your memetics, what does that mean to your mentees?
So in looking at that, looking at your environment is critical to the success of your mini goals and your ultimate goal.
Okay.
In that, if you then create a new goal and new mini goals and action steps, and go back into the exact same environment you had before, your chances of success are significantly reduced. What that means is, for example, as I was growing my coaching business after I sold my first business, I tried to work from home. Well, there was distractions. I had trouble focusing. As soon as something else came along, I would close my computer and do that. So I ended up renting an office outside of my home that I go to 2 days a week. So I changed my work environment to one that supports my new business and gives me the time to then look at my marketing, work with my clients. I'm uninterrupted, and my whole mindset's a lot more positive, and I don't get interrupted. So that's one part of the environment. The other part of the environment is the people around you. So I started telling as many people as possible that I was now focused on growing my coaching and mentoring business, so that when I had a client, they knew what I was doing. And when I said, no, I can't help you there because I have a client appointment today, they were understanding. So they were understanding and supportive because they knew where I was going. So I made it loud and clear. So just looking at your environment and how it supports what you want to do. And if it doesn't, what changes can you make to ensure that it supports you? And then your chances of success are much higher.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I don't think COVID helped any of us, did it? When we were all at home, hindering our journeys with the kids and the dogs and everything else going on. But yes, I think it is important to have a space where you can go. And it's not on the dining room table, is it? You really do need that focus.
Definitely.
Yeah. So in terms of getting these success principles in place with your mentees and chunking down these goals, they've then got their eye on the goal. How do you have regular reminders for them to keep looking at those?
So again, with the mind map, and we'll then set the mini goals, and then we'll do action steps for the mini goal, the first goal towards the bigger goal. And those action steps, they determine, I don't. One of the key things is that the mentee has to have the commitment to ensure that the next action step gets done. So they have to determine what it is, and I guide them. However, they decide on what it is. They decide on what it looks like now and what it looks like when it's going to be completed and what the timeline is. And then I also encourage them to think about what the hurdles will be. There's always hurdles. But if you recognize what could come, and if it does, how you're going to approach it and overcome it, it keeps you moving forward.
That's true. And do they amongst the group have some sort of accountability between them, or are they accountable to you? How does that work?
They're accountable to themselves.
Okay.
All right. Ultimately, if they're not accountable to themselves, I can't make it happen. Because on the day-to-day, they're running the business on their own, right? So learning to empower themselves and believing in themselves is really important.
Yeah, that brings us back to, doesn't it, with success principle 1 about taking 100% responsibility.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And along the way, I encourage them, whenever they're stuck, to reach out and ask for help. That is another one of the principles. Another one that I use all the time. For myself as well. If I'm stuck on something, or I need help, or there's something I want to learn more about, I'll reach out to somebody who already knows it, who's already doing it. Can you help me? The worst thing that happens is they say, I'm sorry, I'm too busy. Well, I'm no further behind. No. And then every once in a while, and it's happened, they'll say, sure, I'll have time next week, or I'll have time later today. And then we connect, and I reach out, and there are so many people out there willing to help. All you have to do is ask.
True, that's number 17, I think, isn't it? Ask.
Right.
Do you find that your mentees will ask for help, or do they feel that they can't and they should be able to do all of this stuff on their own?
Quite often they start off thinking that they can do it all themselves. And then as I question them, and we break it down into what they think they can do well, and then in fact, are they doing it well? Then they stop and they think about it, and then they have to admit themselves that Okay, they might be doing the marketing program for their business, but they're not good at marketing. They're not trained in it. They have no background in it. So then they realize, yes, I do need help. And then the next question is, where do you go for help? And there's a lot of free help out there. You don't have to pay for everything. No. So then they start to open their eyes, and then they start to reach out and they start to ask for help. And then they find that things go a lot easier and a lot faster.
So at what point do you mentor them as the business is slightly growing, and they've learned all these skills? How do you encourage your mentees to let go of that and take the business forward strategically?
And you're right. And that's the biggest thing in growing a business. As a business leader or business owner, you really need to understand what you as a business owner do not do well. We cannot be good at everything. And at the beginning, you do try, and you even convince yourself that you are good at it. But as the company grows, quite often it's the business leader that is the biggest hurdle to the growth. Once you identify what you don't do well, how do you reach out? So, for example, I learned that lesson, and I learned it by really questioning myself, and my mentors were pushing me. And I had to admit, marketing was not one of my strengths. So I hired a marketing specialist, part-time, not full-time. She came in, and her experience on branding the company and branding our products and doing a consistent marketing program where our logo and everything was the same, it was amazing how much it re-energized the company, re-energized our customers, and it had a direct impact on sales. And then that allowed me to then go out and do the selling to our key accounts. And giving me that time, freeing that time so I could go out and just face our key customers one-on-one was huge. I increased business in that first year beyond my expectations because I now had the time to focus on what I did well.
And I think that's really important for business owners to identify really early on what you do well. And for my business, I came from a marketing background, but I didn't come from a digital background. So I then thought, I don't understand all these algorithms. I'll hire somebody else to do it. And exactly what you were saying, it's this freshness. It's like a lovely summer breeze that just comes across the business, isn't it? And that allows me to go out to teach and coach and do the things that I love to do, and hire other people on contract to do the things that I don't like to do, or I don't have the time to do very well. And so how do you encourage your mentees to actually finally figure out what is their core strength? What are they really good at?
We start off by breaking down the key activities in their company.
Okay.
So if they're, let's say, in manufacturing, my company was in manufacturing, we had operations, we had product development, and then, of course, there was the marketing, there was the sales, there was the accounting. And then by looking at that, where does the business leader have their fingers in? And if it's in everything, then that raises a red flag. And then looking at each segment, and are the people or the person that's in that role trained and supported enough to do it themselves without having the business leader to be involved? So to empower the members of your team, maybe you need to hire a full-time operations manager. And by doing that, you hire someone who loves to do that, and again, freeing up your time. So again, much like breaking down your goal, you break down the components of your company and then look at each one, where you fit, who else could fit in there, what it could look like, and then what success would look like in each area.
And do you find your mentees, do they find it difficult to let go as the company grows?
Oh, sure. Yeah, they do. They do. So then we have a discussion around the value of the business leader. So for example, in my case, I did the sales. Did I bring more money to the company by staying in the warehouse and overseeing operations?
No.
Or did I bring more to the company by going out and selling to our key accounts and bringing in more business? So based on that, Where do I put my energy to maximize the return to the company, and in turn, still keeping myself sane?
And do you think that mindset is easy to instill on business owners?
It's not easy, but you let them walk through the journey of where their business started and where it is today. Letting them reflect, letting them think about what frustrates them, encouraging them to think about where they see the company 5 years from now.
Okay.
And by looking forward, allows them then to see that changes need to be made in order for the company to keep growing. You can't stay the same and grow at the same time.
No, and I guess that then largely depends on what kind of business they want, doesn't it? Whether it's going to stay small or whether they really want to make an accelerated growth program going on.
True. However, I do let my clients know that if you're not growing the company, at some point you're going to start going backwards. And at what point do you then become a charity instead of a business?
I love that analogy between charity and business. It's really difficult to manage for some people, isn't it?
Yes.
So what would your top tip be for any business owner or entrepreneur who's just starting out today?
Reach out in your local community for free startup business programs, because there's a lot out there. A lot of it's online, a lot of it's still with Zoom. Some of them are going back into in-person. However, so if you want to do a business plan, which I strongly encourage everyone to do, I think every bank website has a small business portal in which they provide a template for a business plan. I have templates for it on my website. I have templates on my website on how to do mind mapping. So to look at what's available around you for support that's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and to learn as much as you can, and to go out there with an open mind, knowing that you have a great business idea, but you still have a lot to learn about running a business.
And I think that's interesting, because I work with a lot of young entrepreneurs, and it's working through this business idea to see how valid it is out there in the marketplace, which is an interesting concept to think about before diving in with 2 feet, learning all this really good business knowledge, but the product or the service isn't realistic. How would you work through that with mentees?
I have a 1-page business plan on my website, and that's the tool that I would use. So on that, it helps you to think about the different components, from what does your ideal customer look like? What differentiates your product or your service? And if nothing else, I encourage every business owner to do a SWOT analysis, which is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And in that 1-page template, there is the consideration for doing the SWOT analysis, so that you really identify, first of all, what your own strengths and weaknesses are. And then the opportunities and threats relate to what's happening out in the environment around you, whether it's the economy, whether it's trends, whether it's the ups and downs of currencies. So giving yourself the opportunity to take a really good picture and writing it down, so that it's not in your head, because we keep a lot of stuff in our heads, but by writing it down, you then get a chance to look at it, to tidy it up, and then to perhaps say to yourself, is this workable? Do I need to ask for more help? Do I look for more guidance to confirm that I'm on the right road?
And where could they find this template, Doris?
It's on www.malabargroup.ca. So MALABAR group.ca.
.ca. That's lovely. Is there anything else you'd like to advise any business owners or small businesses?
I'm really energized by the number of people that are starting their own business. We've been through COVID. We've been stuck in many different ways for 2 years. To see the energy and the innovation and the new ideas is so positive. And I encourage them to keep going, to believe in their dreams, and to keep both feet on the ground long enough to put a plan in place to make those dreams come true.
Thank you for that, Doris. And I think that's the most important thing, isn't it? To have the dreams, the aspirations, the passion, the enthusiasm, but to keep grounded. And have, even if it's a one-page plan, I have a one-page plan. Why have a 12-page business plan when one page will do? just to keep you grounded and just to keep you focused on what you need to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today, Doris. And I hope if you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, your ears will prick up and you can make some progress with your plan this week. Thank you so much, Doris.
Thank you, Leslie. It's been a pleasure.